Welcome to Boss Up. I'm Nicole Jones, and on this show, we talk about how to start, grow, and sustain your business. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Dr. Eva Beaulieu. Eva, welcome.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
I'm so excited to have you on this new season. Season 7 is just rocking and rolling, and I'm excited that you're here, spending your time with us and sharing and enlightening us about all the amazing things that you do and balance.
I'm still trying to balance it all, but thank you so much for having me.
So to start off the show, again, as you guys heard, that this is Dr. Eva Beaulieu. So Dr. Eva Beaulieu, could you share with us just your background? Because you are an author, you are an entrepreneur, you are a mom, you are a wife, and I'm pretty sure I'm missing 500 other things that go behind your name. But just tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Dr. Eva Beaulieu. I'm an internal medicine hospitalist, and a lot of people don't know what a hospitalist is.
Yeah.
I do primary care, but in the hospital setting only. I don't have a practice, so I only take care of patients who come through the emergency room who need to be admitted.
Okay.
And I take care of them until they get discharged from the hospital. So how I started my journey, I grew up in Haiti, and I moved to Miami when I was 15. Both of my parents were doctors. My mom was a radiologist.
Wow.
My mom was a dermatologist. My dad was a radiologist. And they both had their practices. So you could imagine being in a household
That's amazing.
where both parents were doctors. It was super busy, but I got to see early on my mom run her business, my dad run his business.
Yeah.
And I would go to work with them sometimes and see the love that they had for medicine, help other people. And then on top of it, the aspect of like running payroll, having employees, and going to work and then juggling us as kids. It's just me and my brother. So I moved to the US at 15, unexpectedly. That's another story. And I had to start high school in the middle of the school year in January.
Wow.
And then completed my high school there and went to undergrad in Boca at FAU, where I started my pre-medical studies, and ended up graduating from Ross University and did my residency in internal medicine in Macon, Georgia.
Wow.
Where at the time I thought I was gonna do gastroenterology, and then I fell in love with hospital medicine and just stayed as a hospitalist. I met my husband my last year of residency, got married, and he's also a doctor. He's an ER physician.
Just a powerhouse. Let me tell you, a generation of powerhouses.
It's been a lot having to juggle everything. Moved to the Atlanta area, and then we have 3 beautiful children, and started out just doing medicine and then realizing that I had a passion for other things.
Yes.
You know, medicine, I always say medicine is what I do and medicine is not who I am. I'm still a mother, I'm still a friend. I have a lot of things that I love doing. I love fashion, I love traveling. I'm just like a regular girly girl, you know what I mean? And really my passion also is diversifying medicine, because going through the whole process, there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me. There still is not a lot of people.
I was going to say, is it still the same today? Yeah.
Right. But I think COVID really shone a light on a lot of the disparities and things that were going on at that time and brought it up to the forefront. So now a lot of people are paying more attention to that. And I'm hoping that over the next 15 to 20 years, there will be more of us in this field, because we need more doctors that look like us, that can help us and understand us. That is so important.
Yeah.
And so that's really one of the things that I'm doing the most now, is trying to help others, the people behind me, go for that field if they need guidance, if they need somebody to look up to.
I love that.
So,
I love that. You
yeah.
were definitely pioneering for others, for a place in a moment where you once needed others that look like you to kind of help
Right.
coach you along the way.
Exactly.
That's a mouthful.
And I was fortunate enough to have parents in the medical field.
Yes.
Whereas
Yeah.
a lot of people that want to be doctors, even when they're little, at some point in high school and college, they don't have the guidance. They don't even have a family member or friend who is in medicine. And so they switch careers or they find another way, because I always say that the system is meant to fail us. And so a lot of times the professors and the teachers are the ones telling them, you had to see you can't be a doctor, or you can't do this, you need to reconsider. And they believe it because they don't know any better, right? They
Yeah.
don't have the guidance. They don't know anyone immediately close to them that can tell them that's not true. And so they feel like the teachers and the professors know better because that's what they do. And they
Exactly.
automatically believe it.
Exactly.
And they do something else.
Exactly.
Even if that's not what they wanted to do this whole time.
It's a double-edged sword, because it's like you have a passion for this space, but if you don't really necessarily have an example or somebody to guide you in the right direction, and feel like you have someone that can be an advocate for you, because you're trying to be an advocate for yourself in a place where you don't see a lot of people that look like you,
Exactly.
it can be a challenge for
Right.
sure. But you just shared a lot of great stuff. You were raised in a family, you were almost essentially groomed for this opportunity to be able to lead your own path in this practice and become a doctor. And I love the fact that you naturally just gravitated to that. Some kids are like, there's no way I'm going to do that.
Right. That's my brother. That's my
okay,
brother.
he was the
Because he
one.
went into business and finance.
Okay.
He did not want to do anything into the medical field. Whereas for me, I always knew that this is what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And when you grow up, your parents are your heroes. And I always felt like I wanted to be like them.
Yeah.
I can't even remember wanting to do anything else aside from medicine. So
Yeah, no, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. And the fact that you just continue to trail that path, even going into college and even today, essentially, and helping others along their path as well. Something else that you mentioned in terms of being able to meet your husband during this process of being in your last year of residency. And he's also a doctor.
Right.
So there are two doctors in the household,
Right.
once again, because you and your parents were as well. How was that? That sounds something like it's a beautiful exchange. You guys totally get, the different schedule conflicts or just, the leaps and bounds that go through the process. How was that?
Well, there's plus and minuses to that. At the beginning, it was very hard to figure out how to juggle everything. I don't have family here. He doesn't have family here. We had young children, and him being an ER physician, the hospital gives you your schedule.
Yeah.
And so sometimes he had to be at work on weekends, on holidays, at night. It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And it was the same for me. And so we had weekends where sometimes we had no one to watch the kids. It's just really hard to juggle that. And it all changed when one day he woke up and said, look, I'm not going to work for anyone. I'm going to work for myself.
Wow.
And so he opened up his first urgent care practice. It took a while to get everything up and running.
Yeah.
But he was eventually able to leave the emergency room and just work for himself, which allowed him to create his own schedule.
Yes.
Which allowed him to not work holidays and not work
Yes.
on certain weekends, especially the weekends where I had to work, because I still had to go to the hospital. I was still given my schedule. And that kind of helped a lot when it comes to the kids.
Yes.
So
yes.
still having to find that balance, juggle everything, being a mom, a wife,
Yes.
a businesswoman, it just takes a lot. But I think it helped a lot too, him working for himself and the fact that he's so hands-on.
Yeah.
So that's a blessing.
I mean,
for sure.
Definitely a blessing, for sure. That really helps in those early stages when you guys were both getting started. I mean, you individually had your own mission and your purpose in life when it came to this practice, but also understanding that, okay, if we're going to make this work together, we need to be each other's support system so we can get this start and have this schedule that has the flexibility that we're looking for to continue to grow on top of what we already have established for ourselves. When it came to the point where you realized, I'm great at what I do. I love being a doctor in the medicine practice for those that are in the hospital. Now I actually want to pivot into turning this into a business. Did people reach out to you? Like, what was that early stage when you're like, oh, a light bulb went off. Maybe I should start doing this as a business, maybe a YouTube channel. Like, how did that start?
So I really wasn't into social media or anything like that throughout the whole medical school residency process. I mean, I had Facebook, but I really wasn't using it, you know? And then I think a few years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, I started getting into the social media, you know, looking at other people and really wanting to inspire myself and motivate myself in the process. So I would put things out there that were really positive and uplifting. You know how some people write in a journal? Well, for me, I would post it because it would help me. And then I started realizing that it was also helping other people. And I'm like, wait a minute, you know, we're all similar. We're all in the same boat. And there was a lot of Black women.
Yeah.
And then people started approaching me. There was a need out there for people like us because there's not a lot of people that look like us in medicine. And there are so many young people aspiring to be doctors and they just don't have a clue where to turn to, who to ask, who to talk to. They don't have any mentors. Or, like I said, anyone that they can really go and talk to and open up. Right. And so that's how it all started. And I was like, wait, I mean, I feel like my greater purpose is to help those people. Because if I have the solution, I've gone through it, the ups and the downs, I know exactly what you need to do and what you need to not do. And so I decided to write my first book, this one, Paging Dr. U, in simple language, could be given to a middle school kid. Okay, it's not complicated, it's very simple. And it's things like work on your credit as early as you can because medical school is expensive and you don't want that to stop you from getting student loans because a lot of times you're gonna need student loans because who has the money to pay for, you know, that kind of tuition, right? I mean, I had to take student loans even though my parents were doctors.
Not many,
Or don't do anything crazy on social media because it follows you the whole way. I mean, it's really simple things to position yourself for success and for greatness. And it's not hard. People think that the journey is hard. It's really not difficult. I did not consider myself the most intelligent, best of my class, but it takes a lot of consistency and dedication. And a lot of mindset tweaking.
For sure.
You know?
For sure.
And a few other things. But it's really, really simple. And I wish people knew that it wasn't that, you know, it's not impossible no matter what you're going through. So that's why I wrote that as a guide so that we can have more of us in this field in the future.
I love that.
Would you say that the pandemic has been a trauma for citizens around the globe?
Trauma walks with us through life, to things we see, to communities we live in, to experiences that we've been exposed to. So, you know, the pandemic kind of took all that stuff that was back there that we really haven't addressed and says, oh, well, hold up. I got another story to tell you.
Severe weather can strike anytime, anywhere, but there's a simple way to stay safe. Hey, Jim Cantore here. I stay safe in dangerous weather by planning ahead. You can stay safe too with a few easy steps. Build an inexpensive kit with supplies for your family's needs. Write down important information like phone numbers and medications. Always talk with your family and remember any pets in your planning. Be ready, be safe. Start your plan today at ready.gov/plan.
That people are truthful online more, or maybe not so much?
There's a lot of filters that women have. There's a lot of things that you really don't know that person until you actually meet them in person.
So in other words, you guys are being catfish.
Definitely.
I love that. I think that's going to be really, really critical, especially like you said in the early stages, so people know, hey, this is the rubric, the roadmap essentially that I need to follow. Now that I have this guideline to kind of be my North Star, if you will, in this process, I know I can actually do this. I can achieve this. Because I think what some people are maybe lacking is just structure.
Exactly.
And because they don't have the structure, they feel like it's not attainable. And because it's not attainable, it's like, I'm going to be on this journey forever. So that is awesome. So you guys, if you are in the same boat and you can resonate with some of the things that she just mentioned, paging Dr. Yu is definitely for you to get you on the right track. If you feel a little lost, or you just want to make sure you get ahead of the curve, essentially, when it comes to getting to the stages and the steps that you mentioned in the book.
Right.
Awesome.
So that's how I started my journey. And then I also wanted to show anybody that going into medicine is not a death sentence, okay? And by that, I mean, a lot of people think you're not going to be able to have kids. You're not going to be able to have a life. You're not going to be able to get married. It's going to be medicine all day long. It's going to consume you. You're just not going to be able to do the things that you love. And that is totally not true.
Wow.
I mean, I'm a living testament of that. I travel. I hang out with my husband. I have friends. I do things with the kids all the time. Look, I'm writing books. I'm doing other things. Like,
we'll get to the
you
other
know
one,
what I
but
mean?
yes.
So I always say medicine is what I do. Medicine is not who I am. And I want other people to see that you can go into this field and still do everything else that you want to do.
Yeah.
Hands down.
Yes, yes. I want to speak more on that a little bit later in terms of like just being multifaceted, like what that actually looks like. We'll get to that part a little bit later. But in terms of one of the things that I saw when I read more about you was you mentioned at the top of the interview, you have a Haitian background. You guys came here to the U.S., I think we said when you were 15?
15.
15?
Yeah.
Something that I saw on one of your, I think it was YouTube, you actually also give advice for those who are in the Caribbean islands or in just different countries. Like, what does that look like if you're trying to follow a path of becoming a doctor? I think that's important because representation. We've been talking about this the entire time, but I think when we hear topics like this, especially living in the U.S., we focus on the U.S., domestic. What does that mean for you? Do you find somebody that looks like you? Not realizing the people that watch this show are literally all over the world, not just in the U.S. Can you speak a little bit more about why you felt passionate about making sure people also in the islands and outside of the U.S. understood what the process is?
Because I'm a product of that. You know, I came from Haiti, came to the U.S., went to school. It really doesn't matter where you come from because we all have to go through the same studies, the same exam, the same process, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, if you choose to go to medical school outside of the U.S. or you decide to stay in the U.S., ultimately, the goal is to be able to practice in the U.S. if you want to practice in the U.S. And there are things that you can do to make yourself be able to be just as competitive as the ones coming out of school in the U.S. And I talk about that in my book as well. I actually I did my undergrad here in Florida, in the U.S., but I was at FAU in Boca, and then decided to leave the country and start medicine in the UK.
Okay.
And at the time, I really didn't think about it twice, only because I'm from Haiti. So for me, traveling somewhere else was not a big deal.
Yeah.
So I went there with a couple friends, started my medical career there, decided that I wanted to come back only because I was missing the weather, you know, coming from Florida, going to the UK, it's cold, it's always rainy.
Totally different
I was
climate.
missing family. So I said, you know what, I need to come back.
Okay.
Reached out to Ross University, which I had heard about, and they totally told me if I passed my USMLE Step 1, they would accept me, came back, studied for the test for 3 months, took the test, did very well on it, they took me in, and then I stayed here and did my clinicals in the US.
Nice.
And then I ended up in Macon, Georgia for residency. So it's definitely possible. It's not impossible. There are challenges, but there's challenges no matter what you choose to do.
Yeah.
Even people who stay in the US for the whole journey still have challenges.
Yeah.
So challenges is just a part of the process. We all know that. That should not stop you from doing what you want to do and pursuing your dreams.
Yes, I love that. I love that. Hopefully that gave you guys some hope. You know, it's not as challenging as it may seem. Again, the book that we mentioned, Paging Dr. U, is going to be a good rubric for you. But also just hearing, your personal journey on what that actually looked like, and understanding that whether you're U.S. or overseas or where have you, it's still possible. You might have to go through some different channels and navigate through some different channels, but ultimately it's still the same criteria. It's still the same test that actually you have to actually pass.
Right.
So that's good advice. Thank you for sharing that.
No problem.
Anything else that we want to share about the start of your career before we get into like the growth and all the good things that are flourishing from those seeds?
I just think that, I always encourage people to listen to that little voice on the inside. Don't listen to the chatter around you, because we're so used to wanting other people's approval.
Yeah.
Being it our parents, our friends, or anybody that's around us, but really listen to your own voice on the inside and
like that.
follow your passions, follow your dreams, and follow your heart. And this is what I did, okay? Because I've had people look at me and say, "You're gonna do what? No, that doesn't make sense. Why would you do that? You're already a doctor. Like, why would you even try to do something else?" And many other things I've been told before. But ultimately, if you listen to your heart and you listen to yourself, you can't let yourself down. And you're going to end up happy because you're doing what you really want to do and what you're really passionate about. And that's exactly what I did.
I love it. And it's so true. It seems so simple, like in theory, and even just saying it out loud.
Right.
But it's a big piece of how success is actually won. And I think you spoke to it a little bit earlier where you said it's a mindset thing. If you can believe it, if you can see it, if you can write it down on plain paper, and make the right moves, meet the right people, it can happen for you. And I think it's, speaking to what you just said, you are your own competition in that moment. Whatever all those naysayers are saying, you can forget all that. Put it in the back of your mind, actually throw it out somewhere. Don't even put it in your mind. Just leverage your own inspiration, follow people who inspire you. So I think you spoke exactly to that, because it does lead you to that happiness that you're looking for. And then when you get on the other side of that journey, because the journey itself is not sexy, it's not fun. The journey itself is not fun.
But nothing worth having comes easy.
Exactly.
Right? So if it was easy, everybody else would doing it.
Yep.
And if everybody else would do it, it wouldn't be something that you would want anyway, because it's too easy.
Exactly. Exactly. You took the words literally right out of my mouth.
Every discipline starts with creating a habit. Find a plan that works for you. I know you can put a reminder in your phone, call so-and-so in 30 days. You can't use the excuse that, I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert. Stuff people like to say. Nah, if you're not outgoing, right, you better get going, because that's the only way networking works.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. Remember the best planned 90 minutes of your life? Or that surprise party for your parents' golden anniversary? You get the golden planning. The same way you plan each detail for those moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Protecting your family is the best plan you can make.
Welcome to this week's edition of Single in the City. I am Justin Gilbert.
Maturity comes in, and a lot of people negate that part of being an adult and dating and being single in the city.
What is the biggest favor or regrettable, craziest thing you've done?
We get the meat, the potatoes, but the boundaries can be the vegetables. You gotta have them. You gotta eat them. We will see you next week for another episode of Single in the City.
So no, you spoke right to it. But that is awesome. Thank you for sharing that little gem there. I want to pivot here because you have a lot of growth since what you just talked about, being able to believe in yourself, taking those challenges, removing the naysayers from, your course, your path that you wanted to see. And now you're in a place where you're successful as a doctor, but then you started getting, as you begin to post on social media and so forth, you started realizing people are resonating with what I'm saying. And so now you're growing into an actual online presence or as an influencer. And now you're starting to build more social media content. From a growth factor, how can you explain just maybe a couple tips or something that you want to share in terms of like, this has been working for me right now in my business of Dr. Eva?
I think the key word is consistency. Okay, you have to show up and show up consistently. A lot of times I hear people who say they want to do XYZ, whatever it is they want to do.
Yeah.
And they are not consistent with showing up, with putting it out there, with doing the work, right? So it's really not difficult if you show up consistently, show what you're about, talk about your product or your business or what you want to do, and stay in that pattern. You may not see the results out. And that's with anything you want to do. Absolutely anything you want to do. Because for me, that's all I did was be consistent. I had something to say. I wanted to share something. And I was just doing that consistently. And the people started coming and listening to what I had to say and showing up for the stuff that I had to do or the things that I had to say consistently. They were expecting me to be there and I was there. I was not letting them down. And so they started to, what's the word I'm looking for? When you're a consistent presence, people trust you more because you're not going to just come and leave. You're going to be there to help them. You're going to be there to support them. You're going to be there to uplift them, be that positive voice. And they're going to show up because they know you're going to be there and you're going to have something to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So eventually with that consistency, you end up seeing results. But you also have to be patient because you can't expect everything to happen overnight.
Yeah.
Nothing happens overnight. No one who's been successful has had that success overnight. That is not true. So if someone tells you that they can offer you success or help you grow your business overnight, don't believe it, because run fast and run far. Because that is not possible.
Yeah.
But that's the key word for me is consistency. And then the second thing would be patience.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. Again, something that is critical. It's key to the success of, like you just said, of anything. Anything that you're trying to do, you need to remain consistent. When you're actually in practice, it can be a challenge. But to your second point, patience is what's going to be important. Because essentially what you were doing was you started off just sharing information because that's how you felt. You wanted to get it off your chest. You kind of like, okay, this is a social safe space. Let me share this information. And then it became a fan base. People started responding. People who became more interested because they want to follow the same journey. So you're beginning to cultivate and nurture a group of people who believe in and trust in you because of your level of consistency that you're able to keep up with them. And then I'm guessing, and you can answer this for me, as you were cultivating that audience and sharing this advice and giving them your feedback in your own personal situations, was your initial thought, how can I monetize this, or how can I continue to cultivate this group of people that I have?
I think if you have a passion and a purpose, you don't really look at the money. I mean, going through medical school, they teach us that it doesn't matter if somebody has money or doesn't have money. At the end of the day, you're here to treat the person, help them feel better. So the whole time,
I love that.
Treating these people from the emergency room all the way upstairs to the floor, being admitted until they're discharged, I have no idea what they have insurance-wise, if they have insurance, if they don't, because that's not what I do. Okay, the hospital has other people that do that. That's not what I do. I'm gonna treat you no matter where you come from, no matter what you look like, no matter if you have money or not. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, that's not what I do. I'm here to make you feel better. I'm here to help you and come up with a solution with what your problem is. And so I continue that with everything else that I'm doing. my passion, again, is really to help others do what I know how to do.
Yeah.
And if I end up making money in the process, great. But
Yeah.
if I don't, I know that if I can help 1 or 2 or 3 people,
You've done
I've
your
done my job.
Yes.
Right, I've done my
Yes.
job.
I love that. That is very critical. I wanted to mention that because we're in a place where instant gratification is accepted. And like you said, people see other people online and it sometimes feels like an overnight success. And by way of what you just shared, I'm basically saying, hey, if you just focus on the importance of what you're sharing, and if you trust and believe in the passion and the information that you're giving is going to help these people, everything else will come into fruition for you. So I wanted to make sure that driving that home, if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I need to start my business up ASAP. What does that actually look like? What do I need to do? Then you have to take into account, maybe I just need to sit back and just be focused on my mission, my purpose with this group of people that I'm talking to, this audience that I'm talking to, and not so much focused on the monetization piece behind it, because that'll eventually come. It will come, and your audience will tell you, hey, when are you going to put out a course?
Right.
When are you going to put out an ebook or something?
Right.
So that will eventually come, and I think it's just important for people to focus on the impact and not necessarily the income, because it's half the battle.
Right.
So
yeah, everything will align.
Yep.
The income will eventually come.
Yep.
But if you're leading with passion, that's sustainable.
Yes.
And there's growth to that.
Yes.
Because what you're doing is purposeful and what you're doing is coming from a good place.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. It's not tainted. It doesn't have an ulterior motive. It's just coming from a good place. That's awesome. Well, Dr. Eva, I want you to hang tight.
Okay.
Because I have some more questions for you.
I'm not going anywhere.
I have some more questions for you, and I want to just talk a little bit more about the growth factor of what you're doing in your other ventures. We have something else to mention, and then also how to sustain the business as well, and what different things and avenues that you're doing in terms of support, how you're able to handle this through different resources that you might use to balance all of this. So some more fun stuff about what you have going on. But guys, thank you for watching. We are excited for this new season. Be sure to hang tight and check in for episode 2 with Dr. Eva Beaulieu.